Welcome to the Develop Leadership Podcast, where we seek to explore the art and the science of developing your leadership capacity. Every month, we want to raise thought-provoking ideas and equip you to be an investor of the influence you carry. If you're ready to journey with us, then it's time to develop.
Welcome back, my fellow learners and leaders. This is Tony Villafane coming at you with another episode of the Develop Leadership Podcast. Well, we are continuing this 5-mark conversation on the 5 marks of a healthy leader. Gateway Church has put a stake in the ground in what we believe are some of the irreducible minimum qualities that a leader should carry. And we have covered 3 so far in the 3 prior episodes. Those are follow first, serve always, and cultivate clarity. And today we're going to continue the conversation on valuing results and relationships. Let me just share a little bit of what this quality is like. So both results and relationships are critical for long-term organizational survival. Healthy leaders provide both challenge and support to their teams. They expect results and have very good relationships with those they lead. They are able to discern if they have a stronger bent towards results or relationships, and they look for ways to compensate in that bias. They actively include people around the table who are different in personality and skill set. Healthy leaders are intentionally invested in fostering accountability of results while simultaneously creating an atmosphere of appreciation, trust, honor, and mutual respect. They utilize team meetings effectively. They don't waste time when team members are usually walking away feeling valued and seen. They have an ability to discern the moments that calls for a more results-driven decision or a relationships-driven decision. And so to help unpack this whole conversation of results and relationships is my friend Casie Asmus.
Hey, Tony, thanks so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here. I love listening to these podcasts and even have had the opportunity to attend a few of your Develop Leadership seminars, which are just so good.
Well, you are too kind with that, and I would love just to take a shameless plug moment to say that, we do have alongside the podcast, we have these Develop Leadership seminars. They are quarterly, happen Tuesday evenings, usually here at the church from 7 to 9 at 160 Cowan Road in Parksburg, and would love to invite you if you're just a listener of the podcast and haven't attended a seminar, would love for you to join us to be a part of those learning experiences as well. So thank you for that opportunity to put that plug in. I'm really excited about you being here today to dialogue and to kind of process through this language of valuing results and relationships. But before we do that, could you just share a little bit about who you are, why you are, when you are, how you are? That just is a little bit about you. What would you say?
Sure. So absolutely. I will do the relationship side first. I am a wife. Mm-hmm. I absolutely am head over heels, still in love with my husband. We've been married almost 19 years. And to be honest with you, you actually owe him a thank you for me being here today.
Oh, yeah?
He encouraged me, as he does.
Thanks,
most days.
I appreciate you, Ray.
He does. He encourages me a lot. And we have a beautiful, almost 16-year-old daughter. She is absolutely the love of our lives. And I say it often that God gave us only one kid because I don't know how people manage more. I think we were meant to be one kid family, but it's been awesome. But more on the professional side, I am a project manager who works for a clinical research company. What that kind of means is I run global clinical research trials. So Abby, our daughter, always used to say that my job was way too complicated to attend any of her school career fairs, that I couldn't come because no one would understand what I did. So I'm going to try to just give you just a snippet of what it is to sort of maybe give you a background of maybe why I lead the way I do.
Great.
But really what it is a clinical research project manager runs a trial from start to finish. It could be from budgeting, people managing, talking with doctors. We actually call them investigators. And we find a subset of people that are willing to try a drug. And the ultimate goal is to deliver data to our client so that they can present it to any regulatory agency, whatever country they're in,
right,
and seek approval.
Yep.
if I want to really break it down further, if you've seen any of those drug commercials or like heard a commercial on the radio that says, this drug may cause fatigue, nausea, whatever. So my job is to find out what those are, as well as making sure that it's safe for somebody to take.
Yep. Okay, so results are very, very important in your line of work.
Yes.
Like, crucially.
Absolutely.
Almost a life and death type results important.
100%.
Wow, okay. And I appreciate you saying that. You said that you'll try to bring it down to dumber terminology for me personally, because I'm just not used to saying I'm not that smart. So I appreciate you saying that, because it's true. No, I'm just playing.
Listen, I ask people to dumb it down for me almost daily. So
what we're already gleaning from this is that you're a very smart person, and so all the more credentials why you're here, super good. And man, I love your family. Ray's, I love that dude. Abby, it's so fun having her in youth group. And I already see the relational and the results side of this equation that we're going to dive into. So that being said, let's do it. I would say this. Help me. Is there a comedic example that comes to mind where you have tried to live in both results and relationships, and one got dropped, or one didn't play out the way you thought it would, or it got misinterpreted, or anything of that sort? Does something come to mind?
Yeah, so I try not to take myself too seriously. I think that if you don't have a lighter side to daily life, you're just going to burn out. So the only thing that I could think about for this one is a lot of times you can get to a point in any situation where your stress levels are high and you're really just, it's very uncomfortable. It's probably a fault of mine, but I tell a stupid joke or, silly anecdote about how things could be much worse. And inevitably it falls short, and there's either silence or, maybe one person in the group laughs and gets it, and it's just kind of miserable. So, certainly in areas like that, you kind of have to read the room and be able to sidestep it and then just jump right back in. But I think in areas, it's really important to maybe dial it back a little bit if things get a little too intense.
Sure. I think reading the room is going to be a integral part of some of this conversation.
Absolutely.
For results or relationships for that matter, because I have definitely been the person who has put my foot in my, reverse that. Exactly. Case endpoints that I will say things sometimes I shouldn't, or that is just, I think, you can understand my misery in that at times, especially as a verbal processor, someone who thinks out loud with unformulated thoughts before I speak at times. You're a verbal processor, right?
I am.
Yes, good.
Absolutely.
Okay. So yes, we can be in the same accord on that one. All right, so hey, Casie, help me with this. We're gonna go 30,000 foot, and we're gonna kind of drop down as we go throughout this conversation. Why is it important to intentionally live in the reality that both results and relationships are critical for long-term organizational survival? What would you say to that?
I try to say this all the time, but in whatever team environment you are working with, ultimately you all have the same goal. The reality is that ultimately we're all going towards the same goal. And assuming you can get your team on board with that and getting all of them to understand that you're supposed to be working together towards that goal, and not, having individual people sort of go their own path and not really coming together as a team. It's something that I try to not only remind myself that we're all working towards the same goal, but I intentionally tell my team that, hey, guys, let's listen. We're all trying to do this one task. And I'm often in my head, and sometimes I say it, the awesome John C. Maxwell teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep, absolutely.
I thought about a couple of times getting t-shirts made for my team who have done like just a super job of sticking together. But they're a little bit expensive.
Making shirts is expensive, yes. I love that. Yeah, the line, it can be cheesy, but it's also so true. It's the teamwork makes the dream work, and the idea of us being all on the same goal. Fact of the matter is, if we're all on the same team or organization, yes, there is a common vision, mission, values that we are pursuing. It's just a matter of, are we actually all pursuing that versus our own motive or our own agenda or whatever it may be. But as a baseline statement to say that, yeah, we're all pursuing the same goal. So let's do this thing and let's act like it together and
work together
and actually work in results and work together in relationship. It's not a either or, it's that both and for sure. How would you say, knowing it's a both and, all of us have relationships and results embedded inside of us, but as we said at the very beginning, you may have a bent towards one or the other. So how does one assess their own inclination towards results or relationships in leadership?
Honestly, I think it's unique for every individual, and every individual as a leader and every individual as a team player. I actually took a project management course. This was eons ago. And if I'm being honest, most of these training sessions that I go to, I maybe retain about 10%.
No. Yeah, that's honest.
But this one piece really stuck out to me, and it was where I was really given this information, how if you want a positive team, you need to know how each individual works. And so some people may be very task-driven, and they need those, I need to have the deadlines given to me right away. Some people may be the type of person that needs 5 minutes every couple of weeks to just rant. Some people may be, I need to hand-hold them a little bit more, right? And really understanding how that person is going to react will determine, at least for me, my leadership style. And it's really a way for me to adapt to each individual, but then think about it as a whole for a team. I just want to give you a practical example, if that's okay?
Please.
Okay. So if I have a new team member that's coming on board, I will write them a welcome letter.
Okay.
It's, this is your job. This is what your particular role is. This is the status of where we are in the certain project. And this is where we're going. These are the key players, kind of thing. And then I'll schedule a meeting. Now, I'm in a virtual world. I work remotely, so I don't have the opportunity to do it face-to-face. If I did, I would. But I'll then go and I'll sit down on the phone and say, all right, so tell me about yourself. What do you do? How do you like to be managed? And with that then, I mean, I can't, specifically, if I have a team of 30, individualize it all the time. But if I know how somebody ticks, it'll help me in picking which way I go to. Whether I'm steering towards, hey, let's talk about our weekend really quick, or hey, we've got to get this done on Tuesday. So I know it's not perfect, but it's the way I help make my team work together.
Well, I think that's one, the personal reach out is great in the relationship sides. You're trying to broker the introduction and not just the written note, but you are connecting with them in a meeting. But then you're asking them, how do you like to be managed? Like that's then results, tasks, and I love that question too. It's very simplistic, but to ask them poignantly, how do you like to be managed, is a really, really good one. I in a similar format, I can ask some of my team members at times, hey, like, what is something that I can do to help set you up to succeed?
Absolutely.
And that's another type of question that's more on the, it could go relational, but it's more task oriented. So having those types of questions really can help understand your team members more. Are they more results driven? Are they more relationships driven? And then even within your own self, how do I like to be managed as an individual to my boss, to my higher ups? And does that, because even the fact that I've already outed myself as a verbal processor is it's results, but it is relational in the sense of I need that in my life. And so if my boss knows I'm a verbal processor, which he surely does know that.
Yes.
That's going to inform the way he leads me and guides me as an employee. And so to have an understanding about yourself and that inclination really is good, because it is difficult to. Most people aren't a 50-50 split of I'm results and I'm relationships 50-50. You have a bent, you have an inclination toward one or the other. So having a realistic understanding of that is really helpful.
To be honest with you, though, like starting and preparing for this, I didn't really know where I was.
Okay.
Like I couldn't think like, wait, am I more relational? Because I do try to make sure that each individual person that I work with knows that I value them, but then also I got things to do.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm definitely, I don't know if I'm 50-50. I think it depends on the day.
Sure. Can someone be 50-50 in a day? Absolutely. Yes. Can someone be 100-0 in a multiple day string? Yes. And that's the ebb and flow of our jobs, the relationships, the tasks in which we have. There's going to be a shifting on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. But within that convictional subconscious side of us, where we can sometimes lean more towards results or relationships as a whole. When you look at the whole data plot, if you will, you might see something permeate. Now, whether your results bent or relationships bent, how does one avoid unhealthiness, where there could be an unhealthy balance of way too much results focusedness or way too much relationship drivenness? What does it look like when there's an unhealthy balance of that, of either the swinging of the pendulum? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think the unhealthy balance of sort of a results-driven relationship, to me, I look at it as kind of demotivating. And I want to sort of explain that, because usually if you are results-driven, you may want it faster. And so if you're coming into a meeting, and even though you've been meeting your timelines, giving your results, you could feel like, or I've had this experience where I feel like coming into a bunch of why questions. Why didn't you get it to me faster? Why can't we do this for less money? It's almost like if it's just results, that you are almost defending your work.
Yeah, sure.
And really, even though you're delivering your results like you're supposed to, you kind of feel like it's not enough.
Sure. Yep.
And I personally think those types of relationships can be cold, and not really a person wanting to actually continue to do the work. You can make somebody pull back, I think.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you're thinking about someone who is just solely relationship driven, and maybe not even thinking about the end goal, personally, I would think that is kind of an unproductive type relationship. Meaning that you don't know, if you're not hitting your end results, what other impact that's doing, what other downstream impacts is happening. If you have one task that's due this week and you missed it because you were, too busy talking about other things, what does that do? Are you going to have to pay more money? I mean, there's downstream implications for always not hitting your results. So I will say, in my opinion, if you're relationship driven, it sounds like you don't really have a true leader. And I say that because a leader really has to know when to push towards the results. You have to know when it's time to dig in.
So the idea of too much results, not enough relationships, I heard you use the word demoralizing, and that it's all about the task. The person doesn't matter as much, and yes, we can't let emotions, like, we need to treat people as people, but we can't let emotions cloud the vision, the mission, the task. While if it's too much, the results can just turn into you just care about the machine. And it's not about me, and I'm just another cog in the wheel. And no one wants to feel that way. No one wants to feel like another number. And so it's being careful from the results-driven person to make sure that we're not just treating people as numbers and cogs in a machine. While as the relationship side of it, too much relationships, things just don't get done. Like, it is, there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of story sharing. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of, we're relationally, like, unified and whatnot, which is beautiful and good between a boss and a colleague, but stuff isn't getting done. And so to be able to say, like, there needs to be a leader that can pull the understanding of, okay, are we too results driven, and do we need to bring some of the relational element into it, or are we too relational and we need to, like, okay guys, like, we need to get the work done and dig in, and have a leader that can pull, like, almost like I think about Spider-Man. And there's, like, there's a scene in one of the Spider-Man movies. He has the busts literally split in half, and he's holding on with the webs on the left and the right side of this bust with all his strength, and it's results in relationships, and there's a tension there, and I need to not make sure neither of them get dropped. But I can't over prioritize one at the same time. So thank you for being able to speak into kind of both of those elements for us. Can you provide an example where you had to discern whether you had a decision and it needed to be more results driven or relationship driven, and how did you come to that conclusion of whether it was results or relationships decision based? Yeah,
so I think as a leader, it's really important to be aware of outside influences. And so I'm just going to give you an example of something that happened with me in December. In what I do for a living, there's a lot of deliverables that need to be met. And of course, they always seem to be due at the worst time ever. So picture my team getting really excited. The Christmas holidays are coming up, and we have something that is due the week of Christmas, when everyone, including myself, is supposed to be off. Spending time with families, just checking out for, like, a restart for the year, all of
all
those
the natural things
that happened at the end of the year, right? So, when preparing for this, I really needed to lean into my relational side and have a conversation with the team where it was, we need to get this done. We all need to take a look at how we can get it done, and we all need to give in. And I wanted to really make sure that the team knew that I was also jumping in, that I was willing to get in there and hit this deadline with them. This wasn't me dictating, hey, sorry, I'm going on vacation, I've got something to do. This was me saying, this stinks, and we still got to get it done. And fortunately enough, I think my team, again, I did some planning, so that's also important, but my team was willing to do that, and we were able to get it done. And yes, I lost probably 3/4 of a vacation day, and as did most of my team, but we were able to really understand together that together we could get it done. And I think, knowing when to go into that relational side certainly helps.
And I can only imagine, especially during the holidays, that is a tough crowd and a tough decision to land on. But your ability to lean on the discernment of, okay, like, yes, this is a decision. This is a results based decision right now, and it's not going to be fun. But I'm guessing you probably have some relational equity with the team members, that they probably trust you, that you have utilized, that you can dip into that relational equity in this moment to make a results-based decision because you have poured in some relational input and time into your teammates and colleagues.
Absolutely.
True?
And, I think respect too, right? I didn't come at it as you have to do this, even though kind of we all did.
Yep.
It was, we got to do this together. And I think, it helps when you do have that relational. They value when you come to you and ask those questions. They certainly know that I wasn't happy either. And it was just something that did have to be done.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thanks for sharing that example. Okay, so here's an intriguing question for you. Why is it important to ensure that you have both results-driven people and relationship-driven people around the leadership table, specifically in decision-making?
This may be an unpopular answer.
Give it to me.
So I think if you're a strong enough leader, it doesn't matter who's at the table.
Oh, okay.
I think that if you are able to ask targeted questions and really pull ideas from the individuals, that it should feel more of like you're empowering your team, and it doesn't matter where they are. And I want to also say that when you are sitting at a decision-making table, that I believe it's important that no one feels a sense of obligation, but more of a sense of wanting to own their piece.
Okay.
And that way, if you do have a results-driven person, certainly they're going to probably run with it more than a relationship-driven person.
Yep.
But that sense of empowerment that they do own this gives them maybe a little bit extra step in there. Oh yeah, Casie says I can do this, so let's go.
Yeah.
And, they want to, run with it. And hopefully whatever environment is being created at that decision-making table, that, each person does feel respected enough to participate, and it doesn't matter where they are, because they each have something to give.
Yeah. And to clarify, when you say strong leader, it's because some people might think strong leader, that maybe are you talking like abrasive? Are you talking about like strong-willed? What we're talking just like a healthy, strong leader who can see the table, who's around the table, and draw out certain things of what are their natural giftings.
Yes.
True?
Yep. And that goes back to really taking the time to make sure you know who the team members are. And, everybody has something to give wherever they're from.
Absolutely. No, I love that, and that perspective around it, because as a leader, you should be able to know your team relationships and then know what they bring to the table, results, and let that inform your decisions and how you move around in conversation. You also talked about ownership. Ownership is huge. I mean, that literally is what we talked about in the last episode around cultivate clarity, that like owning the team members, owning the vision and owning the mission and owning what's going on, and feeling like they're a part of the whole, not just
Absolutely.
a cog. They are part of the whole. And when that happens, a team that has unity and synergy, like some really neat stuff happens, and you kind of like doing it together. Like that's the crazy thing when you have that type of synergy.
Yeah, and you have the same goal, right? So
yes.
that's the whole point of it, and that's probably in that decision-making table that we're at, it would be a place where I would be like, hey guys, remember, this is what we're going towards.
Yeah, reminding them of that why, of that mission is just, it's crucial. It really, really, really is. So thank you for that. Let's talk about accountability and appreciation for a moment. Accountability, results, appreciation, relationships. How do you approach teammates' accountability for their performance while also balancing it with trying to regularly show appreciation and support for your team members?
I'd like to talk about appreciation first.
Please.
Because I do think that whatever it is, small win, it deserves acknowledgement. I'm not a every person gets a trophy kind of thing, but I do think that we all feel good when somebody says, thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
And even if it's for something small. So as an example, that team that I was working with around Christmas, I took the opportunity to make sure I named every individual and, sent out this mass email to our upper management, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the style of work the corporate world that I am, because they needed to know and they needed to feel appreciated for what they did.
Yep.
And like I said, it's not here's a trophy, you've succeeded and completed your day. It's a thank you for helping me get this extra step and do what I'm doing. As far as accountability, I really think that accountability starts with strong communication, because let's face it, if you don't know what you're expected to do, how can you be held accountable?
Facts. Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I am also not a micromanager, so let me say that. Maybe you're doing another podcast on that? I don't know.
Would Ray or Abby agree with that question or that statement?
Maybe not. But what I mean in that is, it's real easy for me to say, hey, Tony, can you do this? And then I might forget about it. I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
There's a lot of things that happen in my workday, or
Same.
in, my workday, I'm also thinking about home. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important that if I do assign somebody something, that I'm being as crystal clear as possible. Here's what it is. Here's the timeline. Here's what I think. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of calendar reminders to tell me.
Also same.
But it helps that I am actually, hopefully, trusting that person to get it done. And then I am leaving it to them to help me remember that it needs to be done. So they have that sort of own it mentality, right? They're kind of holding themselves accountable because they actually want to do it.
Yeah.
And it really, helps me keep them in line too. But then once it's done, and hopefully I remembered that I asked them to do it, I can be like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate you helping me, because I trusted them enough to be able to do it, and it would be one less thing that I had to do.
So within the conversation of appreciation and accountability, I heard you say that appreciation is just simply thanking them. Thank you goes a really long way. We hope that thank you isn't cheap. It's not you don't mean it half-heartedly, but just to thank people for what they're doing, and to regularly do that can show a great level of appreciation. While also for accountability, it's a bit of these reminders, these checked boxes, the calendars that I know I need in my life for accountability. For right and for wrong, I will tell people, if it's on my calendar, it's happening. If it's not on my calendar, it ain't happening, because I literally schedule my life through a calendar.
Right.
And that can be great discipline in a good way, while also it can become unhealthy if we're not careful. Regardless, the need for both appreciation and accountability is so deeply needed, and those are two. What you just said was speaking towards thank you, and checklist of accountability or calendars are ways in which we can live that out. Talk to me about pursuing what we would call water cooler chat or small talk, talk outside of work with your team members. It can seem cumbersome sometimes. It can seem irrelevant, let's be honest, at times. If we're being really honest in the results-driven side of our brains, what's the value of that? And where is the discerning line when to do that and when not to with your colleagues?
Yeah, cumbersome, I think, sure. We all have busy days where we just don't have time, but I don't think it's irrelevant. I do think that spending those 3 minutes, how was your weekend type of conversation, it helps you think of your team as a person. and give them, oh, hey, maybe she really does care about me, not just as someone who can do this work for her.
Yeah.
But, the value in it really, it is just for me to be able to show genuine respect for them, that I do really appreciate the person that they are, because let's face it, we all would much rather be home with our families and doing whatever versus working towards a task, right?
Sure.
I mean, being honest,
Yeah.
I don't want to work. I mean, I think I would go crazy if I was sitting at home, but
Same. Very.
I would love to hang out, maybe go to the movies more often, but you got to work, right?
Yep.
So letting people understand that you value them for being there, and just by asking them how their weekend was, it's a cool little interaction. I mean, honestly, the other piece is if you think about when to do it, I think it varies. I think if you think about your day, there's downtime always.
Yeah.
If you are getting ready to go to a meeting, not everybody shows up at the meeting at the same time. Mm-hmm. You're sitting in the room, if you can do it face-to-face, or you're sitting in a Zoom sort of queue, just waiting, have that time. But, walking past somebody, it really could be the start of a meeting that is just a one-on-one. Hey, how's it going? Something quick. If you know the individual enough, you probably have some sort of, connection somewhere that you can just thrive on and pull from. To me, small talk really encourages, a healthy, positive environment, which I think when people think it's a positive environment, they actually want to be there.
Sure. Yes. Very much so. And to say that, I want to talk about technology for a second in this, because it's so easy to be looking down on your phone and disengaging
Absolutely.
from any and all small talk, any and all water cooler chat, and to be on. If you're dealing with a task, okay, great. If you're scrolling on social media for 12 seconds, okay, great. But like if you were any free time that you have at work, and you almost are like actively avoiding talking to your colleagues, even in the name of small chat, some people might roll their eyes at this, but I feel like you're missing out on something.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like you're missing out on that relationship, that rapport that you can build, and you don't know what's going on in their life and their family and their context that. Not to sound weirdly selfish, but like that you can benefit from, like, or that you don't know what you don't know, that like, oh, you struggle with that too? Oh, so do I. Oh, you're a barber? I need a haircut. Like, I don't know,
Right.
randomly come up with stuff. But like there is, when you dive into dialogue with someone, that may seem small talky, it might sound annoying. I'm not saying that you need to have small talk every single moment of the day. And
Right.
someone can look at me and say, Tony, you talk way too much. I'm going to try to avoid you, actually. But there's a balance.
Absolutely.
There's a moderation that needs to be evaluated. And I think that having small talk and talk outside of work in that way can be really, really good and needed, and it does bring hopefully a more positive environment towards the workspace, which then boosts morale, which then gets more results done. So it's like a cycle. It just keeps on going and going and going. I want to hopefully try to get a little more practical here. While we talk about results and relationships, are there any tips that you would provide for the individual who is more specifically results oriented? So the person's listening, they're like, okay, I'm more results oriented. Casie, give me some tips. How do I maybe lean more into relational elements in their meetings, in their colleagueship that they have with their team members, so on and so forth? What would you say?
I would say schedule it.
Schedule it.
I know that's weird, but if you think about a results-driven person, they're already 2 months ahead,
Yep.
right?
No, you're absolutely right.
So intentionally spend the time. Think about, usually in a team environment, you have routine meetings, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe not every meeting, maybe once a quarter, schedule something. Whereas I've done this before, sort of like a team boosting thing, but send out a poll. Mm-hmm. Where do you like to go to vacation? Are you a beach person? Are you a mountains person? Are you amusement park? You then, collect the results, share them at the first 15 minutes of the meeting, pull certain team members, hey, what did you say? Get a conversation going, so that it's not like brutally hard, right? Because if you're not good at small talk, this is you have the question in front of you, right? Yeah. So it's almost like forcing you to do it. I've also done other things to drum up small talk, like sending pictures. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
My 85-pound black lab, I love her.
Yeah. What's her name?
Riley.
Riley.
She decided that she needed to pretty much lay under my Christmas tree this year.
Makes sense, yeah.
And I was able to grab a picture, and it was the cutest thing. And so I was sending out an end-of-year type email to my team, thanking them, of course, for their work that they've done for the year, and I shared this picture. That little picture resulted in pictures back.
Oh.
Or conversations like, my dog totally tried to eat my Christmas tree. Like, just things like that. It's little small things. And if you are a results-oriented person, if you just think about something that you can do quick, it will start that, make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really neat example of the email, because even as you were saying it in my head, when I do think results oriented, I think, oh, that's a cute picture, keep moving on. But I also don't have a dog. So if I had a dog, maybe I wouldn't be.
And I know that a lot of my team members have dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know your employees through the relational element of it, so therefore I think that's really cool, Casie, because you gave two ideas there. One was around the table and what we can classically call an icebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which many people roll their eyes at icebreakers. They don't want to participate. I can validate it because a lot of icebreakers can be really cheesy. While as they really can be helpful if it's done in a less cheesy fashion, or if it's done in a non-exacerbated hype kind of a way.
Yeah,
like
and
you
certainly
read your
not.
room.
Certainly not like every meeting. This is like for you to sort of schedule something.
Yes. Well, I think it's
ironic
that you would say if you're trying to be more relational, schedule it. And here's the funny thing is, I can relate to that. Like, I really can. And I have to schedule in my rest days, or I have to schedule in my fun moments, because my schedule is so daggone packed. And so to say I'm going to schedule in fun or in a meeting is actually probably a helpful tip for some people listening right now. And then also to say, like, the email, like the little personal touch, like, hey, if there's a way to slip in a relationship piece into this email, and how cool it came back to you with some people responding with, here's a picture, and oh, my dog too, whatever. Yeah. So I love that. Let's reverse it now. Okay. What would you say for the person who is more results or relationship oriented, and they could use some tips on how to be more results oriented in their meetings or in the way that they work?
Yeah, and I think on the flip side of that is you have to prepare. You have to have an agenda, maybe have a slide deck. Know before you get there the certain number of things that you have to prioritize for the day. And, if that's even not enough for you, time yourself. So, like, let's just say you have 5 things in an hour-long meeting that you have to get through. Each one gets 10 minutes. Set a timer. And at the end of that 50 minutes, if you haven't reached it and you still have a 10-minute buffer, go back to whichever one maybe you didn't finish. Yeah. But that keeps you going. And it sometimes can cause anxiety for people that maybe like to go off on tangents, but it can help sort of steer them and guide them at the same time.
Yeah.
But definitely preparing.
People who know me that sit in meetings that I lead are probably thinking, Tony, you really need to do what Casie just said. Because I'm outing myself, but I'm notorious for letting things run a little bit long and saying, well, whether I say it out loud or I know it to myself, oh, I didn't cover the agenda as fully as I would have liked to do, or whatever it may be. But the idea you just said, set a timer, which I've done before, but I've let the timer just keep on going.
No, you got to stick with it.
So to say, okay, we're going to do 10 minutes, and then and here's the key part I just hung on to for my own self was, when we get to the end of our meeting, if there's free time, we go back to something that we didn't fully adequately cover, maybe. So that's really good. Yeah, thanks for sharing that for my own personal
no worries.
my personal use. let's kind of keep going in this realm of practicality, if possible. Inevitably, at some point, when you make a results decision, you're gonna disappoint. You're gonna disappoint a results-driven person. When you make a relationship-driven decision, you're gonna disappoint a results-driven person. Like, how do you handle disappointment? Because inevitably it comes, and we can't be fearful of it, and because we can't let stop that from doing our jobs and doing it well. So how do you handle disappointment when you disappoint someone on one side of the spectrum?
I hate disappointing people.
Yep.
This question just makes me uncomfortable even just talking about it. It's probably like my least favorite thing ever.
Oh, okay. Tell me again how you really feel then.
I think, whenever you let someone down in a certain area, it's really important to almost get ahead of it. And what I mean is like saying, hey, I lost it. I didn't get it done. I really missed it because of a certain thing. I think that I can get myself back on track by doing this, and really sort of owning the mistake, just as much as, you want to own whatever task you're doing, you own the mistake. And hopefully whoever you've disappointed offers some grace, and then maybe there's the ability even for some support to be given to help actually get to that end result that you need. Really owning the issue and then fixing it is important, and then maybe praying that you don't make the mistake again, and certainly learning from that mistake. But I do think, if it's okay, if I say this as well, when you do disappoint someone, it's one of those things that you never want to come back to.
Yeah.
So it's a way that, as much as it stinks, you're learning from it. And then maybe you can take that disappointment at the team level and say, hey, I dropped the ball here. This is what I did. Let's try to not do that and learn from it. Yeah. Because even if you do have missed something, you have to share it to help others, really.
Sure. So there's a duality to this, where there's a part of you owning it and not hiding it, learning from it, so on and so forth, but also there's this hopefulness, which is kind of out of your control, that the other person is going to handle it okay.
Absolutely.
And we can't control other people's emotions, and we can't control other people's attitudes. We can control our attitude, we control our mindset, but to hope that as we foster a community that has some healthy values of follow first, of serve always, of cultivate clarity, that as we value results in relationships, there already is, again, more equity in that bank of when a disappointment happens. It's not going to be brutally horrible. It might be bad, it might be sad, but it's not going to destroy the organization or destroy the relationship, for that matter. And so being willing to do that. I have a friend who has a little small plaque up above her desk that says, "You will disappoint someone today."
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, that was my response to it. And she has that there because she is like, I need to remind myself that as a leader, I cannot get the approval of every single person. I will drive myself insane trying to get everyone's approval, and it's just not healthy, and that's not what I'm called to do as a leader. And so I was like, that's a perspective for sure. And so maybe we all need to have that above our desks in our offices and whatnot. Maybe not, probably not. Do you have any leadership, I like to call it hacks, any leadership hacks, practical tips or tricks on how to continue to value both results and relationships? So as we kind of, we talked about a lot, any other practicality that we could put some skin and flesh to this on how we do this well and efficiently?
So this might be obvious, but I think you have to give your team time and space to really raise questions or, throw out ideas. Really letting them, feel that they're heard, that you have respect for them. I think we've talked about this earlier, like they're not just a piece in the puzzle, that they actually are a person first.
Yep.
And that, we really value what they have to offer.
Yeah.
And that we are all trying to reach the same goal. I know I keep saying that, but really having that full team, we can do this together to reach the goal, I think is really important, but giving those folks time to be able to share what they're thinking. I mean, it can be in a one-on-one situation or, at a small group or in a big area, as long as you're, willing to take what they have to say. We've talked about it already today, brainstorming, verbally processing. I do it all the time. I might have one way that I've done something, and I'm like, okay, I've done this before. Tell me what you did. Can we make it, faster, cheaper, better, by maybe combining the two?
Yep.
There's no one way to do something. There's multiple ways to get there, and really chatting it out and trying to figure it out is good. I will say the other thing that is my huge tip, and I know most of you guys watch or listening can't hear, but I have a notebook with me all the time. I take notes at every single one of my meetings. I may not go back and read half of them, but if I do have to go back, there's something there that can help remind me.
Yep.
And they might be like a 3-word thing. And I'm like, I don't really remember what that is, but it might jog something in my memory.
Yeah.
I have so many notebooks at home. And it's just a matter of, if I write it down, it's there and I can go back to it.
For sure.
And again, sometimes you don't have to, but I think that's important. So definitely taking notes, giving your team the space, and brainstorming.
Love it. Those are some really good thoughts to be able to give. One other random one I heard someone say is that I put my team members' birthdays on a note in my phone, just so I have as a list that I can constantly refer back to as a more results-driven person.
It's on my calendar.
Great. It's actually in your great. Outing yourself. Perfect. But that's something small. If I'm more results-driven, the idea of putting everyone's birthday in my calendar or in a note to be able to refer back to it. So there's tons of tips out there for sure. All right, Casie, we've covered a lot of ground. Final words: wisdom, insight, caution that you would give to our viewers or listeners as we conclude our time together.
Humble yourself. You don't know everything, even if you've been in your leadership role for years.
Yeah.
I've worked for my company for 22 years, and I still feel like I'm learning something pretty much every day. And if you really think about it, a lot of people can teach you. So if you give the opportunity to the people that you lead time, they might teach you something.
Huh. What a wild idea.
And it's awesome when that happens. This whole time I've been trying to figure out where I am. Am I relational? Am I results driven? And I do think I maybe lean towards relational, because I want my team members to succeed. And I always want them to get wherever they want to go. So if there's one thing, final wisdom maybe I could say is definitely find a mentor.
Yeah.
And find someone who, and it could be multiple, right? Doesn't whatever area you're working towards.
Yep.
Find someone that is really a good listener to help you with that. And it'll help you.
Yeah. I think being in the posture of a learner, just period,
Yes.
is something that I probably come back to it over and over again because it's just so true. But being a lifelong learner is so needed. And so whether it is humbling yourself, whether it is reading books, whether that is finding a mentor, whether all these things is so needed as we continue to show value in results and relationships. And as you said, you don't really know where you lean. You think you might lean towards relationships. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you're definitely this one. But I will say this, friend, part of the big reason why I invited you is because I see you model it both really, really well. And
thank
so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your willingness to be a part of this episode and this dialogue of the mark of the healthy leader. Thank you for, though you will never say you do it perfectly, I really love your intentionality behind it and being able to witness it and watch it from a church context primarily. And it's really, really fun. So just thank you for modeling it well to me right here, right now, to your family, to this church, to your job, and I appreciate your influence and your impact that you're having. So just thank you so much for being willing to be with me today.
Tony, thank you so much for having me. I have enjoyed it. I hope that I far from not disappointed you. Like, you're not disappointed at all.
You have not, in the slightest, at all. And if you are liking what you're hearing and what you're listening to, we would love for you to hit the share button wherever you consume the content. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you will join us once again next time as we continue to explore the art and science of building, developing capacity. Catch you next time.